Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Jewel TV. I'm Julia Kelleher, broadcasting to you live from Bend, Oregon, at our studios here in Jewel, at Jewel Images. And I'm so excited to welcome today Sarah Petty from Springfield, Illinois. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. I got to turn down my volume or at least get Facebook off so we don't, there we go. Now we don't hear the double feedback. Anyway, Sarah is from Springfield, Illinois. She's been an incredible photographer for so many years and incredibly successful. As a matter of fact, I learned a lot about marketing and selling from this amazing woman myself. So I honestly look at her a bit of like a mentor. She doesn't really know it, but she taught me so much, and I have so much respect for this incredibly talented woman who's been doing this a lot longer than most you and I have. So welcome, Sarah, and thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I always love talking.
We are going to talk a lot today about selling. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it and share with you guys what's happening today. We are talking all about selling. And the key is talking about the things you must remember when switching to IPS. I think all too often people get very scared to move to IPS. I know it's one of those things that's can be, I don't know, it can be a little nerve-wracking at times to switch from just doing an all-digital model to actually selling prints and products. So this is episode 29 of Talk a Lot Today, the 5 things you must remember when switching to IPS with, of course, our special guest, Sarah Petty. It's brought to you by Jewel TV, and here's how to log on to Jewel TV to see the archives. If you're watching this later on our Facebook group or watching the recording on YouTube, you can access the archives at jewel-tv.com. And what you'll see when you go to that page is this opt-in box. So fill out your name, your email. It's all free. Well, I guess if you consider your email a price to pay, but we appreciate it so much. So go ahead and get the access to the archives and the freebies that come with each episode. And Sarah has generously donated something today for her freebie. And we have something amazing thing she's doing this week that I think could benefit every single one of you out there when it comes to selling. And we will talk about that in a little bit. But I know you're all going to want to latch on to her real quick because she is the woman when it comes to selling high dollar portrait sales. So again, welcome. 5 things you must remember when switching to IPS. Sarah is going to talk. You have pretty much 5 major points to say, don't you today, Sarah?
Yep, 5 points, and we probably could have 150, but chose 5 that are really, really important.
And one of the things you said to me when we were kind of going back and forth in this conversation via email, you're like, it's not about sales, it's about service. And I think that as a beginner, someone who's just starting out in sales and trying to figure out where to go and how to get those, we see these photographers who get, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 sales on a regular basis. And we think, oh my gosh, I am not a salesperson. There's no way I could do that. But it's really not about being salesy, is it? How would you describe it?
Yeah. Well, for me, I made every mistake that every photographer out there, that fear of upsetting a client or having someone go, you're how expensive. And I remember losing sales or chasing people, trying to find, to get that order. And I remember sitting down years ago thinking, okay, I'm not helping my clients because they're calling me saying, I want portraits. And then if they don't order anything at the end and they don't have anything in their home, I haven't served them. So I created my whole sales system all around how can I serve this client as if they are my best friend and they don't have any budget. I'm just giving it to them. How can I ensure that we get the right clothing in the right location with the right people and the right look and the right feel to fit their home and what they're looking for? And I hold their hand through the decision-making process. How can I serve them? And when you do that, the sales come. The sales come.
Just automatically? I mean, go into that a little bit more. Like, do you think that people just become so endeared emotionally to you that they want to buy from you, or is it something more than that?
Oh, it's definitely more than that. So a lot of what happens when people have a broken sales system or no sales system, because I did it, I would just meet people at the park. Hey, are you Cindy? Hey, oh, okay, sorry. Are you Cindy? And I would think,
right?
Yeah, if I'm good enough, they're going to see these images, they're going to love them and buy, and that's not what happened. So when I invest a lot of time with them up front, the selling is very easy. And that's what people are. You don't be pushy. Well, you're pushy if you haven't done the work up front and you haven't served them and you haven't answered every question and planned the sale and planned what they're ordering. Because by the time you get to the end, they're buying things that they want. It's not that they're buying things they don't want because you're using some slick car salesman kind of line of, oh, well, only today can you get this or whatever.
20% discount if you buy today. And wait, we'll double your order for free.
Exactly. I actually was teaching an in-person workshop in Dallas years ago, and I was ready to teach selling, and a photographer threw her head down, and she said, no, I hate selling. And I said, why? And she said, I don't want to make people buy things they don't want. And I thought, oh gosh, that's why we're doing the challenge right now, because we've got a lot of things up here holding us back. When clients are telling us they want things, they don't exactly know what. They need our help to figure that out. But we're not serving them if they're not ending with something for their home. That's how I look at it.
You know, I do too. And it's really when I realized that it was all about client education, like they have no idea what to do with the images. And I think that's why they all kind of expect and want digital files, is because that's the only thing they know. I mean, you and I both started in the film days in the dark room and doing things way back when the first thing a client would ask on the phone is, how much is your 8x10? Like, how much is your 8x10? And that was like the big sticking point that we all in the education industry were suffered over, was how to tell them what the 8x10 was and how to sell the wall portrait and the 8x10.
Right.
Well, you know, really digital files have just taken over the 8x10, and people don't even print these days. So all they know is what they create themselves, which is a digital negative. So that's what they want because that's all they know. That's what's safe. And so when our clients ask us that, that means they don't know what else to do. And it's our job to educate and give them choices and excite them about products and things in our studio. And I think I totally agree with you in the whole service thing, but the service is just layered on top of that, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I hate pushy sales. When I sold Girl Scout cookies, I would not take no for an answer. And I remember the look on adults' faces, like, get away, you annoying kid. And I had some blocks about selling. And then we've all had a bad sales experience. Where it's like, go away.
I know, but Thin Mints, I mean, come on, who can resist Thin Mints, right?
Seriously, I know. That's what I was thinking. So we all have these blocks, and I think when you come at it from serving the client, you're not going to go wrong.
I agree. I agree 100%. Okay, so what about the digital dilemma? We kind of touched on it.
Yeah.
You said to me, people in your market do want more than digital files. Elaborate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think a lot of photographers have a block because maybe they think they would want the digital files, or someone somewhere along the line told them that people all want the digital files. And I think because, like with us, we were in business before digital. So people never asked me for a film negative ever.
Never.
No. Why would I give them that?
Never.
And so for me, it wasn't that hard because I was giving them proof. So I was sort of like a shoot and burn photographer, but I wasn't giving digital files. So that was never hard for me. I was selling wall portraits before digital came in. So when it came in, I just kept going with it. Like, why would you want those? I'm not helping you. I want to get something beautiful for your home.
So question is, do you offer digital files nowadays, or are you still on that model?
I have never sold digital files.
And what do you think of that? Like, do you think there's a place for that? Or I don't know, I'm sure you've thought about it over the years. What's your thought process?
Yeah, this is where people have to use their own filter to decide what's best for them.
Yeah.
I teach the boutique model. And for me, I will never sell them. Now I say never, obviously with commercial, like we do some realtor headshots. We don't want them calling us every week. We give them the 8x10. That's part of the sale, but that's like 1% of our business.
Yeah.
Rarely. And we do answer yes to the question. So yes, we give you a digital version of everything you purchase for Facebook, because it's going to be on Facebook anyway. They're going to take a picture of it.
Right.
On Facebook. So most of the time, that's what they want the digital file for, to share. So we give them a beautiful version. It's got our logo on it. They can share it. It's good for all of us. But for me, to protect my brand, I don't want people printing things. I gave my sister-in-law years ago, thinking I was doing her a favor, gave her a presentation with the images. She didn't want to bother me to print them. So she took I don't know if she screenshotted or whatever and had them framed and they were black.
Oh,
And I go, those look familiar. And I looked at them and I said, I think I shot those. Was it middle of the night? And I went back and I looked at the digital file and it was beautiful. And I thought, I can't believe I let my sister-in-law, who was trying to be thoughtful of me, not wanting to, whatever. So I was like, I'm taking these off your wall. I will replace them and bring them back. Like, I can't.
family's the worst, right?
Everybody knows everything in your house I photograph. So again, I'm not serving my clients by sending them off to figure out how to manage exposure or color balance. The file she had was perfect, yet it couldn't have been printed worse. So again, we assume because we have that ability and it's second nature to us that they do, and they don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's something about it. The entrepreneurial life and being a business owner is when you see and an artist, when you see your work on someone else's wall, there's a huge satisfaction in that comes with not offering the digital files. Or, I offer a hybrid model where we do both wall art and digital. So a little bit different than you, but still a boutique model. And I agree that I think it's a personality thing. It's a market thing. It's what are you good at selling? It's what do you believe in? It's what's profitable to you. And there's so many factors that go into that decision. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer for anybody, as long as you're making a living doing what you're doing. Yep. And you're satisfied on the end of it. Yep. And there is, to me, and I know you feel the same way, there's nothing more satisfying than walking into a client's home and seeing your work front and center on their wall. It's like, hallelujah. It's just such a good feeling.
But printed beautifully is the key.
Yes.
Not like when I walked into my sister-in-law's.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. When I think that also comes down to, this leads great into our next 5 thing you must remember is that some clients are not your clients and you got to let them go. I read a great book called The Pumpkin Plan, and it was about how entrepreneurs, when they are growing a business, they're basically growing that big giant prize pumpkin. And to do that, they have to get rid of the diseased gourds that come along with it. And those diseased gourds are essentially the clients who do, like in your case, would call up and go, I want digital files. Like, sorry, we don't offer that. You're not our client. That's hard to accept though, Sarah. That's really hard to accept when you're starting out. How do we do that?
Yeah, it's really hard. And I remember not saying no in the beginning. And I found myself shooting our governor, who's now in prison. I think all the Illinois governors are in prison. But I had someone say, oh, go to this fundraiser at this wealthy person's house. All your clients will be there. So they were paying me, but it still was horrible. I didn't have the right equipment. This isn't what I did. They were all state workers trying to get near him. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to do things that I don't love anymore. So that's an extreme case. Obviously, a lot of people are doing sort of the shoot and burn model to pay the bills and give them a little cash flow while they're working on offering products and doing the wall portrait. But I kind of look at it like, you know, in the circus, they've got the guys that swing on the bar and then they catch the other person and then they do
the trapeze. Yeah.
The trapeze artist. So what I look at is you got to pick one. You're flying through the air. You go to grab the person's hand. You got to let go of the bar or you're not going to get to keep going. You're going to be stuck hanging there.
Right.
And it's painful because you're saying yes, so you're overworked, you're exhausted, you don't have any time or money to market because you've been saying yes to the right people. And the hardest time to say no is the first time. Yeah. And once people learn how to do it properly and just say, hey, this is what I do. And you know, we create wall portraits and we do this and this and this. And if you said you have a $200 budget, you're looking for CDs. If that's what you're looking for, that's not what we do. Like there are a ton of people out there who do that. Mm-hmm. So you'll find somebody really easily. But that's not what we do. And it's not personal.
No, it's not personal, but it's scary. Like when you first start out, you need the money so bad and you're trying to grow your business and all you want to do is be like, oh my gosh, this could be $1,000 session that I could take, you know, and that's money in my pocket. But there's something about having the integrity to say no. and believing in yourself. And I think so often young entrepreneurs or starting out entrepreneurs, they lack that self-awareness and the self-confidence to say, nope, this is what I'm doing. This is how it's going to be. And that actually projects them on a more growth trajectory than anything else. And then you find yourself, if you don't go that direction and you are saying yes to everybody, you have to weed out all the other, once you do move up, you have to weed out all those clients that are not your client. And then you're starting from scratch all over again.
And you have to feel bad about that for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, sometimes there's clients out there who are just not your client. I think into number 4, Sarah, some of the things that a lot of photographers are scared of is client objections in the sales room. Things like, I don't have wall space, or we're moving, or, oh, my husband has to be here, or how do you deal with this, and what's that? And they just fire these questions at you that you're afraid you can't answer. And you're afraid you're going to be stuck on the spot in the middle of the sales room going, oh, can I get back to you? How do you deal with that? And why are objections a good thing sometimes, and questions?
Yeah, they're a really good thing. Go back to, we're sitting with our best friend, helping them order. And they're asking, oh gosh, I just don't have any wall space, Sarah. What would I tell my best friend? I would say, actually, I was at your house. You know that guest bathroom that you have? What if we did something floor to ceiling, like 9 canvases? And that's a weird example because maybe you haven't been to your client's home. I'm always happy to go to their home if they have that objection. Usually that's not the case though. They just don't know how to look at their home differently.
Well, yeah, and I think these on-location photographers who maybe, have an advantage over you and I, and that they can go to the client's home and actually do like a full-on visual pre-consultation, seeing exactly what can be done and what can't. And that is premier service. Talk about boutique service. And they actually should be charging more for that. Even though a brick and mortar studio has a higher overhead, being on location is sometimes the moneymaker because you not only provide the better service, you can actually see what's happening and you can handle that, at least that kind of objection right there.
Absolutely. And so what I did, same thing in the last 20 years, every objection or question I got, I would write down. And I came up with like 4 or 5 different ways to answer the objection or to have them see it differently. Like, for example, they might say, oh, I don't want a shrine to my kids.
Yes, heard that one.
Yeah, and then my first thing to ask is, what do you hang on your walls? And it's hilarious how they'll and you can see in their mind, they're going around their house and they'll say, oh my gosh, we've been fighting about this. My husband's college posters. I've had people say an ugly mirror I want rid of. And my thing is like, it's not going to be a shrine to your kid, and so right. It's not pushing it. If I go through every of my 5 ways to overcome that objection and they still are like, no, literally my house is made of glass and there's no walls.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, then we might talk about a book or an album. So I can't make people buy something they don't want or need. My job is to go with them on those questions and objections and figure out what it is they do need. So I look at it as a really important sales tool.
And it's, again, harkens back to number 1, which is service. When you answer their questions in an honest way, you provide that service. And I know that a lot of people are afraid of like the discount question, like, if we do this, can you include that? Or if we pay cash today, can we get a discount? Those kinds of things that the wheeler and dealer, the attorney type who comes in, and wants to like wheel and deal.
Yes.
Those are scary questions, Sarah.
Yep.
Very scary.
They are, but really in reality, they say there are between 6 and 10 objections that you get over and over again.
It's true.
And everything else is sort of a derivative of that. And again, I decided early on that I've never discounted, I never negotiate, whatever. So the second that comes up, that's just not even an answer. So in my system, I need that to come up at the very first phone call, because they need to be my client if they have to have a, if they have to have a, what am I trying to say? A discount. If they think they're going to negotiate, it's not an option. So that is a deal breaker for me as a business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that comes along with it, is you have to decide what's a deal breaker and what's not. Again, that harkens back to not everyone's your client.
Exactly.
Okay, let's do number 5. Time is gold and pays off in dollars.
Yes.
Go into more detail.
So a lot of people will say, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I can't spend more time with my clients. I can't, I just can't do it. Well, you're sort of weighing, if you have 10 clients that invest the same amount as one client, we know that it's 10 times the work.
Exactly.
People will argue that it's not, but I will argue all day long that it is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I agree with you.
Yeah. So what I found is part of the way people can justify investing more is because they're invested in the process. They've come in, they've met with us, they've talked about, they've planned clothing, they've taken off work, they've gotten their kids' hair done. They've done all this work. By the time they get to the ordering decision, I've had people say, oh my gosh, this was fantastic. This was so much work and we've just put so much into this. Let's get the really, really big one.
Yeah. And that makes it so much easier. And it's, I do newborns mainly, families and newborns. I know you do more families and kids, right? Is that kind of, we're a little bit different, like slightly in that regard. And I know you do a lot of seniors too, right? Am I mistaken there?
Yeah, we do seniors. Andrea pretty much.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. But what I've discovered, with my ideal client, she is pregnant. Sometimes she's still in the hospital when she calls. Doing an in-person pre-consultation is sometimes very challenging. And so we've had to kind of modify our system so that the pre-consultation is very in-depth on the phone. It's very much fill out the questionnaire. It's several minutes before we actually start shooting. But I've also noticed that when I can get like a 34-week pregnant mommy in the door prior, oh my gosh, just being able to relate to her. She is in the space. She sees the products on the wall. Her comfort level, you can literally see, like when they first walk in, there's kind of this little deer in the headlights, like uncomfortable look. And then we're warm, friendly. Here's a drink. Here's snacks. This is what we do. We're so safe, blah, blah, blah. Like you could literally see the anxiety level start to drop in the potential client, and they haven't even booked yet. And it's one of those things where, if you get the interview, you get the job kind of thing,
Exactly.
like where you go, if I can meet with her in person and show her the warmth and comfort and beauty of the space and my staff and all that, they all of a sudden, like, the trust builds. And I always say people won't buy unless they trust. Yeah. I will not buy from someone unless I trust that the information they're going to provide is valid, that the service that they're going to provide, it rings true and on time and with, consistency, that the product they're producing will serve me in the future and now, that it's worth the investment. All those things add up as a consumer, so that if I don't trust you, I'm not going to buy from you, or it's going to be really hard. Then it's going to be pushy, salesy thing.
Yes.
So if I can get a potential customer to trust me up front in the beginning quickly, then it's like smooth sailing through to the ordering appointment.
Yeah. And this is where, again, business models differ. I will not do a session without an in-person before. I have 7 things that have to happen in there. That's part of my system. One of them is trust. One of them is acclimatizing them, getting them to feel what a large wall portrait feels like. So same thing, you can tell it, you can feel it. I work with students who are destination photographers, and they have different challenges because people are in and out.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do have to modify, or you make the decision that I'm not going to take those clients. I'm going to have fewer clients, and I'm going to have a really high average. So it's like making a cake. Everybody's business. We're all using flour and sugar and chocolate.
Right.
The cakes look different. So it's a good thing we're not all doing the exact same thing, but we understand why.
Well, and I think it's so much personality dependent too. We all run our businesses according to our strengths. And a lot of switching to IPS is discovering your own strengths and honing in on those and using that to your advantage and having faith in that process, having the self-confidence. And I think that's probably, Sarah, totally off topic here, but do you have any advice for those who just don't quite have that confidence yet? I know we've kind of talked about our 5 things, and this is kind of a nice slide that gives it a nice overview. But how do you have the confidence to do this and move forward when you're just starting out?
Well, this is really why we're doing the 7-day challenge, because a lot of them are stories that we tell ourselves. when I first started, I wasn't a great photographer, and I started learning how to sell and figuring out how to sell the hard way by screwing up sale after sale. And I realized it's not about the photography. It's not about the economy. It's not about the competition. It's not that people aren't going to like me. And so we always have to be working on those things and figuring out, how we can go in there knowing that we are taking awesome care of our clients, and we can't take it personally. If they need to cut back, I'm happy to help them. Always happy to help them.
And it's so nice to switch your mindset to that, to it being about the client, because then you stop focusing on your own insecurities and you worry more about them being happy.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden your mindset shifts and it's easier, I think. Anyway, so, Sarah's been talking about this challenge thing, and I want to ask those of you out there, by the way, if you have questions, Sarah's going to stay on with us for a few minutes to answer questions. But before we do that, I wanted to kind of ask you why you came here today. Like, what about this topic made you go, oh, I need to watch that? Is it because you're scared to switch to IPS? Is it because you are kind of in the midst of this business thing and you need to start making money at it for it to survive? Do you know that you're capable of more? Well, Sarah has this free, we love free challenge going on. And it actually started yesterday, right? I've been getting my emails.
Yep.
And already I've been so tickled and impressed by what she sent. And she's so good at intriguing your mind and making you think through this stuff and making you assess and really challenge yourself to want to sell and provide that better service to your clients. So right now, Sarah has the 7-day photography selling challenge going on. And of course, her tagline is change how you look at in-person selling. And I truly believe it is all about mindset and changing that mindset. So she's going to help you overcome fears of selling. I'll see if I can move this. There we go. You can go to joyofmarketing.com/JewelTV to sign up for the free challenge. Now, will you get yesterday's emails, Sarah?
Yeah, we have a private Facebook group. So once you register, you'll get an email. All of the videos live in there, so you can go catch up. Today, for example, we talked about money blocks, how we all grew up with somebody telling us, don't take people's money, or you're greedy, or whatever. And people are sharing some really heartfelt stories. And so I'm helping everybody reposition. Okay, first identify what is it from our childhood that the stories we're telling ourselves, and how can we reposition it? Mm-hmm. For me, my dad was handyman. He could do and fix everything. So we didn't pay money for things that we could do. So why would you pay for photography when you have a camera?
Right.
I had to figure out those blocks of, okay, just because I can do it doesn't mean that I wouldn't pay for it. Doesn't mean I can't sell to people that way. And people, I know a lot of photographers think, I'm not my target audience. I'm not wealthy. I'm not this, I'm not that.
Yeah.
Those are blocks in here that we have to unblock before we can really serve our clients.
So what else are you talking about this week? Because there's still 7 days, right? Through next Sunday? Is that how it works?
We actually just go weekdays. So Monday through Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I'm going to do an hour-long webinar sharing my whole system with everybody. But first, we have to go through blocks, like knowing that, just what we talked about earlier, that, what did we talk about earlier?
You're blocked.
Well, that people not wanting to buy things that they want. Let's see, what else are we taught? We have a whole week of challenges. So we have a really cool workbook.
I was just going to say there's a workbook that comes with this too, right? That'll get you thinking.
Yeah. And I think those are important because the things I'm challenging people to do, they're not hard, but I challenge them to write it down. And then after we're done, really think through, like, what is that from all of our childhood experiences that is sabotaging our sales? Because it's happening. Yeah. We feel guilty, like people are ordering and we're going, oh, I'll just throw that in, and and I
still to this day, if I have a huge sale, I'm always kind of like, like the pit in your stomach, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. I can't believe they're spending all this money. Like I still get that feeling when I have a huge sale, and granted you're happy and you scream the happy dance when they leave, but
it is hard.
Oh my gosh.
It is, because as you get better at sales, I'm selling things sometimes and I'm thinking, you could buy a car for that. Really? And so we have to look back at where those things came from. And I know my dad was awesome, but we were really taught not to pay for services. He was frugal. He was 8th of 10. And I had a lot of blocks that I had to work through repositioning at once you get that really great client and they're thrilled and they're gushing, I would realize, oh my gosh, I'm really serving this person. I need to find more people like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will there always be people who want to be the DIY as they see what you're doing and copy? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course there will. But, I think the biggest take home for this is for students watching, I think at least what I've been selling for a long time, and I would call myself pretty decent at selling. But even Sarah has changed my mindset in 2 days, just by reading the emails and looking at the workbook and going through it. So I encourage you to go sign up for it, joyofmarketing.com/JewelTV. It'll just help you shift that thinking and help you move forward to the next step of your sales process. And selling really is a system. And I think Sarah is going to help you kind of at least reset your system so that it totally works for you and what you're doing. She's also given us this darling freebie today. I love it so much, the portrait process timeline from Sarah. So thank you, Sarah, for giving it to us. But it'll walk you through kind of her system and what she does in her selling. And honestly, mine's very similar to hers. And I think it is, I don't want to call it formulaic because that's not the right term, but there definitely is a process, a conveyor belt that all of my clients go down, and it adjusts and varies from time to time. But she has her portrait process free for us on jewel-tv.com. So go there, opt in for the freebie, and then of course you'll see all the latest episodes and archives. Oh, Belinda's giving me all these wonderful questions. Thank you so much. So you can opt in at jewel-tv.com to get that from Sarah. So Sarah, thank you so much. And before we take questions, I want to just, for those folks watching on YouTube later, you can see these Taco Lattes on Jewel TV live in our Facebook group. So join us there. Facebook.com/groups/Julia Kelleher. Make sure you have some kind of indication that you're a professional photographer on your profile so that we know, because we basically accept professionals into the group who really want to talk education. It's a very warm, friendly group, and we keep that atmosphere very much so. So it's all about sharing and environment and encouragement. So you can find me also at these places. So Sarah, we have a couple of questions from our crowd here. Are you up for answering a few things here today? Awesome. Okay. So let's see, just a couple. Jillian Faulkner, thank you for joining us. Jillian says, clients love the shoot-proof galleries, but I find I end up selling more digitals and less prints. I offer prints with every package, but I find that most clients will still pay more for the digitals, but I would rather they spend more on prints. Help. I think I know the answer, but go for it, Sarah. Answer.
Yeah. So again, I go back to serving the client and knowing your business model. We don't serve the client, I don't think, by putting the images online. My best friend lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I can't get out there to photograph her often. She has 2 little kids. So she found a really good photographer who took all of these amazing images and put them online. And she said, Sarah, here's the link. Come help me. I do this for a living. And I was so overwhelmed. I said, Michelle, they're all awesome. I don't even know what to tell you. Like I said, can you get an album with all of them in it? I mean, I didn't know what to tell her. But I said, you need something on your wall because that's what's important to me. Versus, think if that photographer would have sat with her and said, this is my favorite. This is why. Yeah. And if we did 4 of these, look at your little girls and look how precious. And then the one with you and your daughter and your husband with your other daughter, like that would be a cool series. That's how we serve our client. Just sticking them on an online gallery, I don't feel like serves the client.
No, because they're just kind of left to their own devices. And again, they don't know what to do with them. No. And that's probably half the reason why they're just doing digitals is because they don't know what would look good on a wall. And I always encourage my students, take an interior design class. Figure out how art should be displayed on the walls. Pour through magazines. Go to like home decor places and see how they piece not only art and imagery, but also shelves and shadow boxes and things that are in a space that you can decorate with. Because that's truly what a client needs and wants. They may not recognize it at that time, but if you walk them through that process, then every time they see that piece on the wall, they're going to be so grateful and happy with the experience they had because it looks good and it's something they could have never created themselves.
One more little nugget for that question is, if you have to do, or you're transitioning from digitals, or you want to take the emphasis off digital, you can figure out what your average sale is. Say your average sale is, whether it's 600 or 1,500, and you want to get that up. at, say it's a $1,200 average, at $1,500, you could make a way for them to buy a collection of digitals, for example. So then you're getting the average you want. They're having some wall portraits, and they're also getting digitals, and they buy them. I wouldn't necessarily throw them in, but if they're
make them purchase some kind of art piece before they can purchase digital.
And again, you just educate them up front on, this is how I work. Don't be afraid of it. Present it as why it's important to you, and they will get it. And if it's not what they want, then they can find someone else.
Exactly. And Jillian, that's kind of the, both Sarah and I have different models, and hers works great for her and mine works great for me. But that's pretty much what she just described is pretty much what I do, where we have create a collection and people have to buy some kind of art piece. It could be an album, it could be a wall portrait, it can be lots, it can be one. And then after that, they can purchase their digital files, and that creates a package. So just a different model doing things differently, but it works.
Yeah. And see, I don't have any collections. I'm completely a la carte. I have about 10 products, basically wall portraits and frame series, like small ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And I've had that for 20 years.
And it works.
So sometimes people try to make it so fancy, like they're different.
Less is more. Less is more, unless it's coffee. Then you can have all you want.
Yeah, you can go with it. We always say pick a pony and ride it.
Right? Okay, Shonda Feather says, I've been IPS from the start, but every client I've had wants digitals. Oh, we've heard this lots of times. I've added them at a much higher cost, but then they don't book. They want the shoot and burn $100 photographer. I realize not everyone is my client, and I do have those that buy wall art, but most just want digitals. And, I think she didn't really ask a question, Sarah, but I feel her frustration, and maybe we can talk to that and help her, talk her through that.
Yeah. I think sometimes people, like with the 8x10 question you talked about, they act like they want the digitals. But for me, when I can answer, again, our models are different because you do offer some, I don't at all. So I'm very hard line. I don't offer any. But when I tell them they get it of anything they purchase, I have 7 steps also in my first phone call. In my 5-step system, my first phone call, I have 7 different things that I go through. One of them is we have to tell them what makes people different before we tell our prices. So I think a lot of people are just blurting out their prices, and people are saying, but I want a digital, and then the sales being lost. So it's sometimes, I think, a sales issue. I am the most expensive photographer in central Illinois in a cornfield. Everything leaves archivally framed, which drives up my prices. And that rarely happens to me. So I know, I do say no some, but that's the exception to the rule. So I feel like that you could benefit by learning some sales skills that would help you convert some of those people on the phone. So that's good.
I was just going to say, I think that phone call, the booking phone call is key. And I remember training, because Belinda takes all of our booking phone calls now. And I remember she was so, bless her heart, she's over there looking at me funny. She was so nervous when she first started doing it. But I'm like, you can do this, B, you can do it. And it was about making that connection, about saying why you are the best and you're worth the price before the price happens.
Yeah.
We'll take care of everything. We're going to serve you. We have gorgeous products, come in, see what we're about, see if it's a good fit, really honing in on that and just learning a little bit about the booking phone call and how to capture that emotion in the potential client before getting into price is a huge thing. Okay, Lane Potts says, what do you do with the people who do know what they want to do with them? I'm assuming he means, or she means digital. I have so many clients who want the digitals because they do know what they want to do with them. They enjoy making their own albums every year and or have frames they want to fill for the wall. What do you do with these people? Not your client, Sarah?
They're not my clients. Okay. Everything comes framed. So if they don't want to have a frame, if they have a frame, and if it's a deal breaker for them, it's the same price. If they want to take it out of my frame and put it in their frame, that it's not very smart for them to pay for a frame.
Right.
When you go to a fancy restaurant and you order a gourmet hamburger and it comes with a bun, take off the bun if you don't want the bun. Right. Or don't go to that restaurant. So that's really, for me, that's sort of a deal breaker. So again, everybody has to use their filter to decide what's important to them.
And I think what I'm hearing so much in the voice of our viewers today is just that frustration of not knowing what to do when the client is not your client. And I think you're right. It's the hardest no is the first one you say. But once you have that confidence to say, you know what, this is what I do, this is my business, this is how it works, and you start marketing to those people, that's when you start to grow the confidence that what you're doing is the right thing.
Right.
So it's a combination of learning these sales skills that Sarah's so passionate about, but also the marketing that it takes to attract that ideal client. The ideal client. Get in her head, understand her on a deep, deep level, and find her. And I think, and I know that's easier said than done, but that's the elusive golden goblet, so to speak, but it's true. And once you kind of marry sales skills with the marketing skills, that's when you have kismet, I think.
It's like a peanut butter cup.
Right?
Together.
Right? Okay, Jacqueline Porcius, I think I pronounced that right. Sorry, Jacqueline, if I hash that. She goes, with newborn, this is our last question. She goes, I find often new mums, she must be from Australia or Great Britain, want to look at an online gallery to share with family that may want to buy, and that then they will come in for IPS. How do I get a busy new mom to give up her time and get back into the studio? Well, I think I'll answer my way, Sarah, and then you can. I basically do the hybrid model. So people come in for the IPS appointment, and then once they've made the sale, then I'll put the images online for family and friends to order from. So that's kind of my model. But really what it comes down to is really sticking to your policies. And right at the beginning, we say, okay, you'll come in for the pre-consultation, or we can do it over the phone, because I deal with newborns too, Jacqueline. You come in for the session, and then you'll return 2 weeks later for your in-person ordering appointment. And once that's complete, we will put the images online for family and friends to review. And if they hem and haw and say, no, I can't get back to school, well, I'm sorry, but this is our policy and how it works. And no image leaves the studio without being paid for first, online or otherwise. So, we're sorry if this is not part of how you like it or what you envisioned, but unfortunately that's what we've had to do in today's digital age. It's just too easy for folks to right click or screenshot, and we have to protect our livelihood. I will literally, granted, I don't say that with every single client, but if they push back on me and say, well, why can't we do this? I sometimes just tell the truth in a kind, smiling way.
Yeah.
Truth hurts, but sorry, I'm not going to, Nordstrom's doesn't let you just take a dress without paying for it first. That's kind of, I think it comes down to setting your policies and really sticking to it, and educating and outlining that process from the beginning. Not only do your clients have to hear it, they have to see it, they have to read it, and they have to type it. Does that make sense? Like, they have to do it. Hit those 3 senses and they will get it in their brain. I mean, there's times when I have to freaking beat clients over the head with information so they get it. Yeah. It's frustrating, but you have to in order for it to stick.
Yeah, no, I agree. So for me, I have that main person of the big group who hired me. They come in, they do in-person sales, they place their order, and they put their deposit down. Nothing leaves until that happens. I don't put anything online ever, because I don't want to teach people or put in their mind, well, last time I came, you gave me an online gallery. No, I didn't. So we print little thumbnails right out of ProSelect. They're ugly. They're bad on the printer. We stamp them all over. And I look at the client, I say, these are only for grandma to decide. And I need you to get this back from me by Friday. Can you do that? Because we're going to hold your order until you get grandma's order. And I make that person responsible for everyone else's order. It's thumbnails, though. We don't do an online gallery or whatever. And it's never been a problem for me. They're like, okay. And they go and they get grandma's order, and then it's fine.
Yeah. And again, guys, I think to those viewing, it really comes down to what your strength is and what your process is. I mean, Sarah's clearly been doing this and it works. How long have you been doing this? 20 years?
Yeah, that's how I did it that way the first time, and it worked. So I was like,
oh, why?
It wasn't easy to use online galleries when digital just started. So I had to figure out another way. Now it's really easy, and I don't want to train my clients that that's an option. So if it works, what doesn't work for me or works for me may not work for other people. That's what's cool about learning the why. That's why I like teaching my why, not just look what I'm doing, but here's why I do it. And you are saying, here's how you do it. So it's kind of cool to see that we're both successful, yet it's not the exact same thing that we do. Yeah.
And all too often, so many educators are like, you must do it this way. You must do it this way. Is so not true. And it depends on your market too. You may want to do it a certain way, but your market can't handle it. Yes. So you got to assess that too and figure out what works. Like my sister's in Southern California in the Orange County area, and it is hustling, bustling, instant gratification. Nobody's on the phone. Everybody's texting. And it's like, that's a challenge to work with when it comes to booking clients, because people don't call her back. She got to do everything via email. It's a pain in the booty. But she's learned to circumvent that with strategies and systems that work, even though it's something she doesn't like to do. She'd much rather talk to her potential clients on the phone. But you got to live with what your market can bear and what the people in your market are like and what the culture is like in your specific market. It's different everywhere in the world.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
Well, Sarah, you've been so amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you. You can tell, like, both of us, don't let us get in a room together. We'll be like 100 miles an hour.
Right. Well, I wanted to promote one. I know it's a total Sarah Fest today, but I love that because really, you guys, I started my business 10 years ago in 2006, late 2006. We're actually celebrating 10 years in business this year. And Sarah was one of the first educators I ever studied from. Oh, cool. And she has taught me. I remember listening to your marketing CDs in my car on long trips over and over and over again. I mean, she's brilliant. She has such an incredible marketing background and for that matter, sales background. And I wanted to plug her book. You have a little thing of it, don't you?
I do actually. And I'd like to give this away to somebody. Can we send you pick one of your question?
Okay, we'll pick one. Maybe we'll let Belinda do that because she's unbiased.
There you go. But I love to reward action takers.
Just pick somebody.
People can sit and watch this and not take action, but the fact that they participated and they showed their vulnerability and asked a question, I love it. I wrote this with Erin Verbeck, and you know Erin.
She's awesome.
Worth every penny. But it really talks about the boutique business model. And most businesses compete with cheap. As a photographer, we compete with free because everyone has a digital camera.
Yeah.
So never going to be priced cheap enough to compete. You got to figure out how to do it better.
When I have read your book cover to cover, I did a couple years ago, right when it came out, and it is so just food for the entrepreneurial soul. It really gets you motivated. It gets you thinking about your process. It gets you thinking about things differently. And so if you have a chance, if you don't actually win the book for one of our commenters, I highly recommend it. Even, is it on Kindle? Is it an ebook? Can you get it?
It is an ebook. It's not an audio book. People keep asking us and we're like, oh, we don't want to read our own book.
Hey, I listen to your marketing CDs over and over and over again. You should do that. Make it an audiobook.
Yeah, that was back before I knew how to get one of those little sponge things on the microphone. So I run into people and they're like, where'd your lisp go? Like, I never had a lisp. I just didn't know how to use the microphone properly. So
that is okay. It's about the information you provide and the education you give more than anything. So again, Sarah, we're honored that you have joined us today. Thank you so much. And those of you who are coming to us late, join her challenge. It's just going on this week and it's free. And I'm sure she's going to talk about her selling class that's coming up as well during that free challenge. But ultimately, go to joyofmarketing.com/JewelTV to sign up for the audit or the selling challenge. And then she'll send you a link to the Facebook group. You can chat with people in there. There's already like 2,000 or 3,000 people in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's over 3,000 people.
It's crazy. And everyone's contributing and talking about selling and going through these problems on a daily basis with a great community. So,
so who's our book winner?
Who's our book winner, B? She's giving me this.
Lane is the name.
That's a lot of pressure. Come on, sales pressure, girl. Hook to it.
It's Lane, I just picked it.
Hang on, come over here. Come over here. She's coming.
I just picked it. It's Lane.
Oh, she did pick it. She picked it. She picked Lane.
That's why I was going
to
say.
That's how you picked.
Meant to be.
Yay. You won Sarah's book, Worth Every Penny. So we'll make sure we're going to PM you and get your address so that Sarah can send that to you. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone. Sarah, you're wonderful. And everyone, thanks for watching Jewel TV, and we will see you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.